chant Pali reverently, and to treat books with care so gently, and to daily humbly pray to the three jewels, our teachers, and all creatures. Until the day you and I must fade away, die and decay, chasing peace. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you kind of don't know whether you should clap or not because it's not an art form that you would see in a theater. It's not an art form that you would see on television. And it's certainly not a form of music that you would see here in the States or in Cambodia often live. Right now I just wanted to poke Trent with some questions, both from me and from you as well. And I'd actually like to start because this is a question that came up from our last salon. At our last salon, we had a presentation of Balinese shadow play here, and the artists were American. They were Americans and they were trained in Bali, much as Trent is American and trained in Cambodia. And the issue came up of, yeah, they were great, but why don't you find Indonesians to perform shadow play here? Or someone might say, why don't you find Cambodians to perform Smot here? And I wanted to throw that question at you given the global nature of in which people interact with each other nowadays, and traditions are blending and receiving new ideas at a much more rapid pace and at a much more and in increasing visibility. What did you have to say to that as an artist, or maybe you don't even like that term artist, but as someone who is now a keeper of his heritage, as someone who is carrying on this tradition? Sorry.
For me in this tradition, I know I will always be a student, and I know that I can only be humble in that. And especially as this tradition comes from Cambodia, and I'm not from Cambodia, and I will never have that experience in my life of what it's like to be native in a sense to this tradition, or to hold that kind of responsibility towards it. I know that I must be very careful, and that I do make mistakes, and for that I seek forgiveness. And for this tradition, though, there are many sides to it. There is the side that has come through Cambodia, has come through Cambodian poetry, through the language, through the culture, through the history, and through the teachers of that culture. And then there is the part that comes from a religious teaching that cuts through those differences. And for me, that is where I most often seek my grounding, because that is perhaps what I know better or more connected to. And in sharing it, again, I can only hope to follow the wish of my teachers that this art form be shared, and the intention that it be shared in a way that makes it living and vital.
And for me, I am similar to Trent in where I was, sure I have Cambodian skin. Actually, a lot of people don't think I'm Cambodian, but I was born and raised here, but studied dance and went back to Cambodia. And there's always that issue of authenticity. But for me, what I find about a lot of the Cambodian Americans here is they wear their culture on their sleeve, especially young people our age, in which, just because of your ethnicity, just because of where your parents came from, you think that this art form, that it belongs to you. In one sense, I would say, okay, yes, you're right in one sense, but if you were to ask them about details, if you were to ask them about meaning, there would be none of that there. And so it essentially becomes a means of decorating oneself. And for me, if that person were to ask that question at that salon, and this is not my attack on them at all, I would say, well, sure, Maria's skin is white. Sure, Trent grew up in the Bay Area, but these are newfound carriers of the tradition. And as you can see, Trent is someone who is exploring the art form in its oldest forms, understanding its contemporary practice, but also adding his own, infusing it with his own passion. That eventually the passion of the individual artist is what drives the continuity of any art form. I don't care if you feel like it's something traditional or static or not. Other than that, that's all I had to say. Did you have any questions for Trent?
No question, but I'm very impressed. The Smot, when I was young in Cambodia, it used to be very annoying